Okay, first of all, I want to welcome everybody here to the University of Arkansas Small Business Technology and Development Center. If you don't know already about our Small Business Development Center, we are a one-stop shop for startups and existing small businesses. We are associated with the University of Arkansas and affiliated with the SBA and statewide ASBTDC, as well as a national network of more than 1,000 small business centers. Locally, we offer complimentary one-on-one consulting that includes business planning, market analysis, financial projections, as well as programs just like this one. We try to cover the relevant topics for business owners and help you in any possible way that we can. Now, if you are not already a client, we encourage you to visit us at sbtdc.uark.edu. And again, my email is ccase@walton.uark.edu. Okay, let me open up Excel. And what I'm going to start with is just a review. Let me go back here. A review of what we discussed a little bit in Excel level 1. And then I'm going to kind of build on that from here. Now, also know, I mean, if you guys are having trouble with any of this, looking at it, seeing it, please know that I'm going to just talk about a lot of great features. You do not have to worry about the steps. The steps are the easy part. It's just knowing about these features in Excel. You can always touch base with me and we can go over the steps, or I can hop on a call with you and we can look at your spreadsheet together. So please do not worry if you're not keeping up with me regarding the actual steps. Just knowing these features is really key. So again, just like in Excel level 1, I wanted to point out that we've got the ribbons at the top. You've got the home ribbon, insert, draw, page layout, formulas, etc. These are all different ribbons that Microsoft allows for buttons and features that they think we commonly use. So I really 99% of the time live right now at the home ribbon. That's what you can see right here up on your screen. And that's got a lot of the basic features that I use over and over again. Now you'll see that you've got different sections. You've got the clipboard section, the font section. You'll notice here at the bottom, the alignment section. Again, these are a bunch of buttons and features that you can use, but it's not all the features that are on there. At the bottom of each section, you've got what they call a little radio button, and it's that little tiny box with the arrow pointing down. If you click on that, it will open up a whole different window with everything that has to do with fonts, okay? So don't worry if you guys are looking at this and your ribbon might not have the button on there that you want. It is there somewhere. So it's going to probably be under one of those radio buttons. Okay, so to start with this spreadsheet, what I did was I typed in a spreadsheet, Animal Rescue League, Q1, and I typed in dogs already and cats and birds, and I already typed in all the numbers of the animals that we sell. So one of the things I wanted to go over, which is a great time saver, and if you took the Excel 1 class, we spent a little bit of time on this autofill handle. But notice your mouse again, it has different symbols. Like right now, you can see a fat white plus. If you're up here on one of the lines in between the column headings or the row headings, it will be a double-headed arrow. And I'll talk to you about that in just a second. And then you can also have this little tiny black arrow at the bottom right-hand corner of that cell. Now, the autofill handle, and write that down because if you guys want to talk about that after this or work on a spreadsheet, it will save you a lot of time. It will automatically copy months of the year, days of the week, but more especially, importantly, it's going to help you with formulas. So you don't have to retype over and over again. Please remember, if you're retyping or redoing anything in Excel, there is a way to shorten that up. So make sure that you let me know. But so the autofill handle, what I did was I typed in January, and I'm going to get right down on the bottom right-hand corner of that cell, and I can see that the solid black plus. I'm going to click, hold, and drag over to the right, and it automatically fills in February and March. Now it will do the same thing with days of the week, It'll do the same things with if you type it in Q1, it'll automatically pick up on that and type Q2, Q3, Q4. Okay, so that's the autofill handle. I'm going to come back over to you guys and see if there are any questions. And make sure in the Q&A, if you guys are having problems or questions, I'll pop back over here often throughout the next hour and make sure that you guys are not having any trouble at all. Okay. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about the right click, the mouse. I get a lot of questions about this where, you know, how do I get to a menu or some features regarding a cell, regarding a column? On your mouse, you know, you've got the left mouse button and the right mouse button. The left mouse button is where you'll spend 99% of your time. Like I'm just clicking my left mouse button right here. My right mouse button is really helpful in Excel. This is one of the best things that I do in Excel for a shortcut. Anywhere that you right click will get you a shortcut menu. So notice if I right click on the cell that has January, I've got a shortcut menu with every feature possible. You know, this is where I can cut and copy. It's where I can delete. I can add a comment. So again, there's so many options right here. I use maybe 1/4 of those, but all I had to do to get that menu was to right click. If I right click up here on column C, it will get me another shortcut menu according to wherever I right clicked, which was column C. This is going to be helpful when you want to insert, delete columns, and even if you want to insert or delete rows. I just right clicked over there on the row. So again, if you have any questions about anything in Excel, if you right click on wherever that is, it will get you a shortcut menu. Okay, now adding columns and rows. This is something that I did not go over in the first session. And again, I know a lot of you guys might already have know this, and some of this might be repetitive, but I want to show you even something that will be even quicker with inserting columns or rows. Okay, so let's say I want to insert a row in between dogs and cats. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click on column heading 4, and then I'm going to left click on insert, and it automatically inserts a row. Okay, now if you don't want to, here I'm going to just right click and delete that. You can also move cells. So there's so many different ways in Excel that you can do the same thing or get around it. And so another thing you could have done is I could have just highlighted these cells and then get my 4-way black arrow and drag those down if I wanted to get some more space in there. Okay, so I just highlighted the cells, and the key here is my mouse symbol changes to a 4-way black arrow. That's when I know that I'm on kind of the move function, and I can click, hold, and drag those. Okay, inserting a column. Maybe I want to insert a column right to the left of column B. I'm just going to left click on column B and click on insert, and there's my new column. And then again, what I'm going to do is just right click again and delete. Now, one thing I want to take it a little bit further. If you knew before how to insert columns and rows, there's a lot of times that I see people do it one at a time. You can insert more than one row or more than one column. And the key again is, let's say I want to insert 2 rows above dogs. I'm just going to first, with my left mouse button, highlight 2 rows. And then I'm going to go ahead and right click somewhere inside row 3 or 4. And when I click on insert, because I had highlighted 2 rows, it knew to insert 2 rows. Okay. So again, if you find yourself inserting a row and doing the same thing over and over and over again, there's usually a shortcut to doing that. And again, so let's say I want to delete those 2 rows. I'm just going to come over here with my left mouse button and highlight both those rows, right click and delete. Okay. I'm going to hop back over to you guys and see if there are any questions. Okay. It all looks good right now. Perfect. Okay. The other thing that I showed you in Excel 1 was this undo button. Up here at the top left-hand corner, you've got a little arrow pointing over to the left. That is your undo. I use that probably 15 times a day inside of Excel, because what I do is a lot of times I accidentally come over here and I don't mean to, but I bump the keyboard and I maybe type something like this. And I'm thinking, okay, I messed up my whole spreadsheet. You can undo, and it will undo every step back one at a time. Also, Control Z on your keyboard is undo. So there's a lot of keyboard shortcuts that I use. And remember, I said there's 15 different ways to do the same thing in Excel. This undo button is the exact same as me using my keyboard and holding down the Control key and hitting Z. Okay. So if you can't remember one of those two, or you're more comfortable with the buttons or the keyboard, you'll kind of find your own way in what you want to do there. Okay, advanced formatting. This is another one of my big time savers in Excel, is the format painter. That's this little paintbrush that's right up there on the clipboard section of that home ribbon. That format painter will copy formats within your Excel spreadsheet. So for example, and I'm just going to do this with this one example here. For January dogs, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to add the dollar symbol. I'm going to make it a currency. Okay. So what I do a lot of times is I usually will highlight all those cells and do that. But there's going to be times when you have one cell that looks like you want it to look, and you want to copy it to another cell. So just like in the formulas we did in Excel 1 and everything else, the first step is always to click inside of the cell that you want to maybe copy in this example. So I like this format. I like that it's the dollar symbol. So I'm going to click on that cell, and then I'm going to come up here to the format painter. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to go ahead and highlight those two cells and make them the exact same. Again, I'm being redundant here. What I probably would have done is highlight all of them and done that. But that format painter will copy the format of the cell that you've selected. And it's really helpful, especially if I make a mess and I'm thinking, okay, what did I do to the 22? I want it to look like the cell B3, the 11. Then I can again click on the cell that I like the format of, click on the format painter, and click on the cell that I'm trying to fix. Okay. So again, I'm just going to highlight all of these. Let's make them all the dollar symbol. Okay. So let me show you again. Let's say I highlighted dogs, cats, and birds, and I made them bold, which is right up here, which Control B is also to bold. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change the font color. Let's change it to maybe a purple. And let me even change the font. So right now it's Calibri. I'm going to go ahead and click on the drop down arrow. And I'm going to go ahead and let me do Arial Black so you can really see it. Okay, so I've taken all this time. I've highlighted these cells. I've formatted them the way I want them to look. And now I'm thinking to myself, boy, I'd really like January, February, and March to look the same way. Instead of doing the exact same steps, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one cell that contains the format that I like. I'm going to go ahead and click on the format painter, which is that little paintbrush. And then I'm going to go ahead and click, hold, and drag, and just paint across those. And again, notice it copies the exact same format. And if you'll notice here, it's kind of cutting off February just a little bit. It's just telling me that these columns are not big enough. Like it fits March, but the Y in February, it cuts off just a little bit. A nice shortcut there is to auto size a column, is to come up here. And since I want to auto size the column that has February in it, this double-headed arrow, I'm just going to double click, and it will auto size that entire column one space larger than it needs to be. Okay, so let me do this again. I'm going to go ahead and highlight column D, and I'm going to, on purpose, drag it over to make it small. Okay, so first of all, if it's a number that doesn't fit, it will show that number symbol. So that's just indicating your column's not big enough to hold that number. Now, March, it is overlapping into E2 because I don't have anything over there. But once I type in total, it will cut it off. So you can't see now the C or the H, okay? So to resize column D, you can either manually get up there in between column heading D and E and click, hold, and drag, or because your spreadsheets are going to be big, a lot of times you won't know how wide to make it because you can't see all the way down into, let's say, row 100. You've got data all the way down there. So you want Excel to do the work for you. If you want that, you just come up here on the column heading, that line in between column heading D and E, and double click, and it will resize that entire column. Okay, so to back up here, this little format painter, that paintbrush, will copy formats. It will copy bolding, any currency. If you want to change the number format, the date format, it will copy that again. You just have to click on the cell that contains the format that you like, that you want to copy, and then you just go to the paintbrush, and then you paint over the cells that you want. Now, if you want to do it, again, there's always a shortcut to everything. Let's say I want to copy, here, I'm going to just make this bold. Let's say I want to copy this format. I've just really made it bold, so that's not too big of a deal. But I want to copy it to cell B5 and D5 for whatever reason. But I want to copy that format to non-adjacent cells. I'm going to click on the cell that contains the format that I like. And then I'm going to come up here on the paintbrush and I'm going to double click. When you double click, it leaves it on. So now I can come and I can click here to paint. I can come over here and click on the 99. Let's even come up here to the 77. And again, I know that doesn't make sense why I'm bolding just those, but just know if you double click, see my format painter is still on. I can scroll all the way down if I have a huge spreadsheet and paint across cells down there that I want to make look the same. And then you can either hit the format painter again, or your escape key at the top left-hand corner of your keyboard is probably one of the best keys to in Excel because it kind of takes you back a step. It turns like the format painter off, or if you're cutting or moving, it will turn the little disco dancing lines on or off. Okay, let me come back over to you guys. Let's see if there's any questions. Okay. Okay, let's come back over here. Okay, so formatting numbers. Something else, let's do this. I'm going to kind of take this down a little bit. I'm going to go back. I'm going to copy this format. Oops, here. Double click. I'm going to copy that, kind of change it back so it kind of looks the same. I'm hitting escape. And then I'm going to come back in here and unbold all of these by just selecting, and then I can do the B to turn it all off. Okay, and even let's make these numbers back to how they were too. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight B3 through D5, and I'm going to come back up here, and right here on the drop down arrow beside accounting, you've got all these different options, and I'm just going to take it back to number. So it takes the currency off. And then what I even want to do is I want to decrease the decimal. So you've got the increase and the decrease decimal. So if I click on twice, it will decrease that decimal. So I kind of take it back to the original number that I wanted. And I didn't want to undo because it would have undone a lot of things that I want to keep. So I just went ahead and highlight these cells, and I came up here and I used my number features in that number section. Okay. So formulas, just again, this might be repetitive, but I'm going to add some stuff to this. So let's say that I want to add 11, 44, and 7. I want to add all of our sales for dogs for this first quarter. So I click inside the cell where I want my answer to be. And then I'm going to come up here to the auto sum button that's at the top right-hand corner. And see, again, I'm still on the ribbon, on the home ribbon. I really haven't gone off the home ribbon. A lot of things that I do are right there. So even the auto sum. So I'm going to click on that auto sum, and notice it's kind of disco dancing around those 3 cells because Excel will automatically know if you click that, to first look to the left, and then if it's not there, to look up. So it's selected the right cells that I want to add. I'm just going to click on that auto sum button again, or you can even hit the enter key on your keyboard if you're more a keyboard person. Now remember too, to copy that down, I don't have to repeat that. In Excel, again, if you find yourself repeating things, I'm going to come down here and do the same steps to do the formula, and again in E5, then you're wasting a lot of time. There are shortcuts, so you don't have to repeat anything in Excel. So what I'm going to do here is I clicked on the formula, and it's 132. I added all the dogs, but I want to drag that down. So I'm going to get again on the autofill handle. Remember, that's the one we used when we did January, February, and March. The autofill handle I use more for formulas than anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and click, hold, and drag that down, and it will automatically redo that formula based on where I copied it to. So the 165 are the number of cats we sold. The 198 are the number of birds, okay? Now a shortcut for that, let me just come in here and delete these two. You guys are gonna have large spreadsheets. So it's never gonna be just these, dogs, cats, and birds. It's gonna go down row after row after row. So let's say this spreadsheet all the way down to row 100. A lot of times when you get on here, I see people kind of try to drag, hold, and they go too far, and then they have to come up, and they go too far up. One of the key things, let me delete this. When you do a formula and you want to copy it down all the way to that column, what you can do is get on that autofill handle again, but this time double click instead of clicking and holding and dragging, which I did just a second ago because this is a small spreadsheet. But if you double click, it will automatically copy it down. So if I've got 100 rows worth of information and I come up here, I do one formula, I double click, it will copy all the way down to row 100. Okay, so again, a great shortcut with that autofill handle. Okay, so now I've got January, February, and March. Notice down here at the bottom, I had a lot of questions after first Excel class on, how do you separate the information, but then combine it all in a worksheet? One of the benefits of Excel is that you can put a lot of information into one workbook, which is this file, which if you notice up at the top, I just named Excel class 102. What I'll do a lot of times is I'll have information where I put it all in one workbook called maybe 2022. And then I want a separate sheet down here. I named this one quarter one, but maybe it's January, February, March, April. So you don't have to create a complete separate file for January of 2022, a different file for February of 2022. That's one of the benefits in Excel is you put all the related information into one workbook, but maybe on different worksheets. Okay, so these are the different sheets. And you'll notice again, I renamed this one to quarter one, but I added another sheet 2 with information, a sheet 3 for the third quarter, and sheet 4 for the fourth quarter. Okay, so there's my quarter 1, my quarter 2, my quarter 3, and my quarter 4. So what I did, because I kind of like, a lot of people might leave it sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. I need it more organized than that. So I renamed this one quarter 1, and how I did that was I came on the sheet that I wanted to be on, and I just double clicked, and you can't see it very well there, but it's highlighted the sheet 2 letters. What I'm going to do here is do QTR space 2. So again, I'm just double clicking on the sheet name, and I'm just typing what I want, QTR space 3. I'm going to do the same thing. This one's going to be QTR space 4. And then my last one, and I'm going to show you how to do this in a second. I'm just setting it up for this. We're going to do all of the year right here. So I'm going to double click on sheet 5 and do end of year. So that's going to be all of 2022. Okay. So again, just to rename a sheet, you just double click and you can type the name. If you want to move a sheet, what you can do is just click on the sheet. Maybe I want this end of year at the beginning. I can just click, hold, and drag, and now it's the first sheet. Again, it doesn't do anything to mess up the data in there. It's just moving the sheet and organizing them the way you want. And I'm just going to click, hold, and drag that back over here. I want it right after quarter one. You can see that little arrow, so I'm going to let up and drop it there. Okay. So now I've got quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, and quarter four. Okay, let me hop back over to you guys just to make sure I don't have any questions. Okay. Again, do not worry about the steps. There's so many steps that I'm going over right now. Just know that a way to organize Excel, for example, is to organize the sheets, to name the sheets, to make sure that they're organized down at the bottom. And it really does help. Okay. So now the formulas. I ended up showing you on quarter one how to add. Again, we added all the dogs, the cats, the birds. And then on quarter two, I did the same thing. Before I opened up the spreadsheet for you guys today, I already have a total for April, May, and June. I did the same thing for July, August, and September. And then October, November, December. One of the benefits in Excel is if you set up a formula and you make any changes to the data, even after you've set up the formula will automatically update. So again, let me show you how to add all these cells easily, because I want at the end of the year, I want to just be able to glance and say, okay, how many dogs were adopted for that year? How many cats? How many birds? I don't want to have to go back to quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, and quarter four. Okay. So again, don't worry about the steps. Just know this is what's so cool about Excel. So I'm going to add this. So again, it's just like I did before. I click inside of an empty cell where I want the answer to be. I'm going to come up here to the auto sum button. And then it's asking me what I want to add. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here to quarter one. And I'm going to click on this because that's the first cell I want to add. I'm going to hold down my shift key and click on the sheet that says quarter two and then hit enter. And there's 615 dogs. Okay. So what it did was it added 132 plus 219 plus 132 and plus 132. And it got 615. Now, let me show you before I walk through that step again, why that is so great. So it's 615. I've got the formula there. Let's say I go back to quarter two. And as I'm going through and kind of auditing my information, I meant for May to type in 70. When I type in 70 and I hit enter, so I've made an adjustment to one of those cells. When I go to end of year, it will automatically update that for me. So once you get your spreadsheet set up correctly, and that's what I'm here to do to help too. Once you get up your get your spreadsheet set up correctly, the rest of it is just filling in the data. Okay. So let me do this again. And again, don't worry about the steps. I just want you to see how cool this is that you can add across sheets and then save it all into one worksheet that's really kind of end of year. It's really kind of an neat way to look at it. So I'm going to click inside of the empty cell where I want my answer to be. I'm going to click on the sum, the auto sum button up here at the top right. I'm going to come back and select the first cell that I want to add, which was on sheet quarter one. It's 165. And then I'm going to hold down my shift key and click on the quarter four because I want to add all that across quarter 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to hit enter. And there it is. And again, remember what I could have done is I could have just used that autofill handle and not had to do that a second time. But I just wanted to show you the steps. And there are your answers. Okay. This is a great feature of Excel. It's to keep a lot of your information in one file, which is called a workbook, but to keep it on separate sheets and then to even take it a step further and create a formula that combines those sheets. So you kind of have a year at a glance or a month at a glance, you know, whatever you need. but it's just a great way of doing that. And again, I can help you set up your spreadsheets. And once we get this all set up, you can go back and change, like I can make any changes to quarter 1, 2, 3, or 4. My end of year will automatically update because I set up a formula. Okay. Now let me show you even more formulas. Okay. And then I'm going to show you text formulas because you can actually do stuff with text again. Okay, so here are the symbols. If I add, I'm just going to use this auto sum button up here, but here's the symbols for subtracting, for multiplying, and for dividing. Okay, same exact steps, it's just a different symbol for each one of those functions. Okay, so down here, I'm going to do the example. So this first one will be a subtraction example. I'm going to take 10 minus 5, and that's going to be the formula. Multiplication, I'm going to do the same thing, 10 multiplied by 5, and then 10 divided by 5, because I want to show you it's the same exact steps. It's that easy with just one change, and that's the symbol. Okay, so when you're doing a formula, step number 1, I always say this, I know it sounds redundant, but you've got to click in the empty cell where you want your answer to be. So there's where I want my answer to be. And since it's not an auto sum and there's not an easy button up there, I'm going to manually do this formula. So I'm going to click inside the empty cell where I want my answer to be. Step 2, I'm going to hit the equal key on my keyboard because that tells Excel that I want a formula started. I'm going to click on the first cell that I want in my formula, which is B5. And then I'm going to use the symbol for subtraction. Remember, it's that little hyphen. And then I'm going to click on the second cell that I want in my formula and hit the enter key. So again, notice up here in the formula bar, this is where you can see your formula. The answer is actually in your spreadsheet. Your formula is up here. So I took B5 and I subtracted C5. Okay. Now let's do the exact same thing, but I want to multiply this time. So step number 1, I'm going to click in the empty cell where I want my answer to be. Step number 2, I'm going to hit the equal key. Step number 3, I'm going to click on the first cell that I want in my formula. Step number 4, I'm going to type in the symbol. So since I want to multiply it, that's the little asterisk. And then my last step, or next to last step, I'm going to click on the second cell that I want in my formula. And then I'm going to hit the enter key on my keyboard. So this time it took 10 multiplied by 5, and it's 50. Okay, one more. I'm going to do the division. So step number 1, I'm going to click in the cell where I want my answer to be. Step number 2, I'm going to hit the equal. Step number 3, I'm going to click on the first cell. Step number 4, I'm going to type in the symbol, which remember is division. Then I'm going to go ahead and click on my next. I actually did that the wrong way here. Equal. Click on the first cell. I'm going to type in division and click on my second cell here. I'm going to make these a little bit larger. It's not, let me click on that. It's kind of covering it. Okay. Equal. Click on the first cell. Divide. Click on the second cell. Gosh, C7. Okay, this is good too. So what I did here is I'm accidentally clicking on the wrong cell. So it's telling me right there that I've got some kind of an error. So what I did immediately, because I'm messing this up a little bit, I looked up here on the formula bar and it's telling me C7 divided by C8. And that's not what I want. I want C7 or B7 divided by C7. So when you do that, you can actually edit up here in this spreadsheet too. So I'm going to go ahead and click up here and it's going to be B7 divided by C7 and hit enter. So I can actually manually do it up here also. Okay. So let me redo that because it kind of got messed up. I'm going to click in the empty cell where I want my answer to be. Click on the equal key. Then I'm going to click on the first cell that I want in my answer or in my formula. I'm going to divide this time, and then I'm going to click on the second cell and hit enter. And there's my answers. So again, it's the same exact steps for subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. You just notice that it's just, you're going to change that middle symbol. There's the asterisk and there's the division. Okay, let me hop back over to you guys really quick and see if there are any questions. Okay, and again, if you have any questions at all, put them in the Q&A, and don't worry if you don't, we can get together after this and I can help you with your spreadsheet then. Okay, let's go to text formulas. So this happens a lot where somebody will start an Excel spreadsheet and they just start typing in all the data, and then later on they've realized, okay, they've typed in too much information in one cell. Maybe they wanted combined information. Again, with Excel, you can correct just about anything. Don't worry about once you type it in, if it's not correct, make sure you contact me, and there's an easy way to do it. One of the key things to do is in Excel is try to break up the information when you're typing it in there as much as possible. So this is a perfect example of how I would normally set it up. So I would do first name, last name, because sometimes you're going to want to sort by just last name, address, city I would put in its separate cell, state, zip code, date, and notes. Now, let me tell you why I would do it this way, because a lot of times I want to come in and I want to just alphabetize by the last name, or I want to maybe filter. So let's say I want to alphabetize by just the last name. I'm going to come in here and click, and actually I can see that it's already alphabetized. Let me come in here and do the first name. So I want to alphabetize by the first name. So I'm going to click somewhere inside that column. And again, I'm still on the home ribbon. Down here at the very right, it says sort and filter. When I click on that little button, I want to sort the column that I'm in from A to Z. And when I do that, see how it sorts all of that first name? The rest of the data comes with it. Okay, it's going to warn you if for some reason you've got something selected like this and you go into sort, it's going to say, wait, you don't want to sort just those two because the rest of the data is going to stay static. Are you sure you don't want to expand it? So it won't let you mess this up without coming up with some kind of an error. Okay, so again, let me click somewhere inside the last name. I want to sort by the last name. I'm going to come up here to the A to Z, and I'm going to click on sort A to Z, and it's sorted by the last name. Okay, let me do one other thing. Let's say that you want to sort by the last name and then you want to sort by the first name, because you'll notice you've got 3 Joneses, and I think that's the only one I've got duplicates of. But let me come back here because it looks like it's already sorted. Let me resort this. Okay, so let's say you want to first sort by the last name and then you want to sort by the first name. You can, again, you just come in here and click somewhere in the column for last name. When you click on the A to Z button, you've got a custom option. I use this custom option a lot because there's going to be a lot of times where my data, I've got a ton of data, and I want to first sort by maybe the towns, the cities, and then after that, I want to sort by the last name and then the first name. Okay, so if you ever want to sort by more than one column, you're going to have to use this custom sort. So I'm going to click on custom sort, and I want to sort first. I'm going to come down here. I want to sort the last name, A to Z. And then if you notice, there's a button that says add level. I'm going to click on that because I want it, after it sorts by last name, then I want it to sort by first name. I'm going to leave it A to Z and click on OK. So it first sorted by last name, and then it's sorted by first name. Okay, and I could keep adding if I wanted to, but again, don't worry about the steps. Just know when you've got that data in there and you've got it in there correctly, it's kind of nice because you can go in and sort and get anything that you want, kind of organized, if you will. Something else I like about this too is because I've gotten it set up correctly, what I do a lot is I filter data. So again, I just need to be somewhere inside of the spreadsheet. And again, I'm going to come up here to the A to Z, and there's a filter option. When I click on filter, it automatically puts these little drop down arrows beside every column heading. So there's one for first name, last name, address. You might actually maybe have opened up a spreadsheet that somebody else created and you see those buttons up there. All they've done is they've just turned on the filter option. It doesn't print. It doesn't mess up anything. It just allows you to quickly filter out information if you want. So let's say these are my clients and I want to filter out everybody that is from Iowa. So I'm going to click on the drop down arrow beside state, and I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to unselect all and select Iowa. When I click on OK, now I've just got my Iowa clients and I can print those out. I can alphabetize them. It did not delete the other data. It's just hidden. So if I want all the data back, you can tell right there, I've got, it's sorted on that because it shows a little filter. The rest of the buttons are little arrows. So I can quickly see, and especially this is helpful if you're working in somebody else's spreadsheet. You're like, okay, wait a second. You know, I know the data is not there, but where did they filter? Just look for the little button that has the filter, and I can come back up and do select all and okay. Let's do city. I'm going to click on the drop down arrow for city. And let's say I'm going to go ahead and just unselect all. I just want maybe Rogers and Fayetteville. I click on OK, and it just brings out those. Let me undo this and select all and OK. Now, one great thing with filter that I want to plant this seed. So if you guys want to do something like this, you can also filter out in between dates. You can filter out in between numbers. So let's say maybe you've got a lot of sales and you want to filter out all the clients that you've had sales of between 100 and 200. You can sort just those out. It doesn't need to be by just something like name or anything like that. So let's say the date. I'm going to come over here and click the drop down arrow. You can sort by oldest to newest. You can sort by color, sheet view. Here's date filters. Okay. So when I point to date filters, notice all these options over here at the right. I can sort before a date. I can sort after a date, between dates. I can sort maybe next week, last week. Look at all these options you've got to sort that information out. So when you've typed in all this information in Excel, again, don't manually do anything. There is a way that you can do just about every shortcut to get the data out that you want. So I would probably go in between. I would type after, let's say 12, 1, 2021, and before, let's do 3, 1, 2021. Okay, I click on OK. Oh, I didn't have any there. Let me do date. Oops, let me undo this again so I can see all those. Okay, so let me do this again. I'm going to click on the drop down arrow, date filter between, and let me now read the data that I've got in there. So I want every date between 1/1/2021 and let's do 4/1/2021. I think I've got that right. There we go. And there's just 2 dates in there. Okay, so let me unfilter this. I'm going to click on that and click on select all and OK. And please, again, don't worry about those steps right there. Just know that you can pull out just the data that you want to see. If it's in between dates, if it's been in between numbers, maybe organized by states or countries or names. So when you set it up like this, that's exactly how that works. Okay. Now, I don't use this as much as the one I'm going to do next, but I just want to show you that you can actually use text formulas. So I want to add Chris case, and I want to put that in one column. So I'm going to come up here, and again, we've already done a lot of this. I'm going to right click on column C to insert a new column, and here's my new column. And maybe I want this one to be full name for whatever reason. Again, I just want to show you how you can actually add text together just like numbers. So this formula, again, I'm going to click inside the cell where I want my answer to be. I'm going to hit the equal key on my keyboard. I'm going to click on my first cell. And this is how you do text formulas. I'm going to do an and instead of the plus with text, it's and. I'm going to do quotation, space, quotation, because I want a space in between the names. And then I'm going to click on and the second cell. So what I'm doing, this is your text formula. I'm taking A2 plus, that's what the and is, a space plus the B2. Now that could be a comma in there if I wanted a comma. I could switch it around and have case, comma, space, Chris. So however you want it to display. And again, I don't do this as much, but I've had a couple of these just lately where people have manually come in and retyped information in there, and you can do text formulas just as easy as you can do numeric formulas. So I'm going to hit equal and see what it did. It took Chris space case, and it's all in one column, and it's my full name. And I'm going to double click on the autofill, and there's all that. Just like before, let me delete this. Let's say I'm going to do an equal. This time I want case, and that's the same as the plus, quotation, comma, space, quotation. That's what I want in between. And then the second cell, oops, sorry, and A2. And there is case, comma, Chris. Copy that down. Maybe for some reason you want to do something like that. Again, it's not often that I've done that, but just to know that you can do text formulas. What I have done that on is if you've brought in data from somewhere else and all of this data is together, there's a text formula to separate that. So you've got the street name, the city, the state, and the zip. So a lot of times if you bring in data or somebody else has set it up, a lot of times they will combine all that information in one cell, and it's really hard. Then you can't sort out the Fayetteville and the Arkansas or whatever you want to do. So that's when you're going to probably use text formulas the most. Now, let me show you that. This is how you're going to do that. So somebody sent me a spreadsheet, let's say, and they put all the information of the name in one cell. And I want to break that out because, again, my goal is to sort and to get answers quickly. And so I'm going to sort that out by probably last name. So I can highlight these cells. I can come up here. Oops, see where I'm going to have to go to data for this one. I'm sorry. This is the one time I have to go outside of the home. So I go to data and text to columns. And then it's going to come up with a little wizard. It's going to say, okay, is it delimited or fixed width? Don't worry about that first step. I'm just going to click on next. Usually what it will do is it will come up just like this because it's saying, okay, where do you want the separation to be? And as a default, it has tab, but notice it's going to be a space for me. So I want it separated where the space is between Chris Case, between Gary Fober, Ed Jones. So when I click on space, notice down here, the example, that's how I want it to be. Let me unclick that. Again, that's when I know that I'm right before I hit the finish. I'm going to click on finish, and now it's separated. So now I can say this is first name and this is last name. Okay, and that's again just under data and text to columns. Okay, let me hop back over to you guys just to make sure if there's any questions. Okay, let me go back over to the spreadsheet. A couple other things that I wanted to show you again is just charts is one of the things I get a lot of questions about. Let me go back to this one. This will be a good chart. Okay, so a lot of times we're visual people, so this is great data, but if you're going to have a PowerPoint presentation or you're going to present this to someone, a lot of times it's nice to not only show the data, but to show a chart over to the right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to highlight the information that I want to create the chart on. And what I want to do is I kind of want to break it out by month and then by animal. So I've highlighted those cells. charts are under insert. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do recommended chart. Here's all the different charts that you can do. But by doing recommended chart, I kind of put it in Excel's hands and say, okay, you look at the data and see what you think. Now, I know it's going to be a pie chart because I do this a lot, but there might be maybe a line chart. That's another one. It will actually do the line chart for this one. But maybe I want something, you know, a little bit different. But Excel will, if I do recommended charts, it's going to come up and say, okay, here's all the recommended charts that I would suggest. And you can go through and see, okay, which one do you like the most? And you can keep going. There's just tons of information there. I'm going to go ahead and select that I want this one. I want the lines. I want the January, February, March. Notice what it will also do. Or do you want the dogs, cats, and birds? Now I'm going to do the months, but it will come in here and do whatever you want it to do. So I'm going to go ahead and select the first one, click on OK, and here's my chart. Now it always comes in big. I wish this was something that they would change where it knows that there's data behind it, but notice what I'm going to do is I'm going to get on this top right-hand corner of that chart, and I'm just going to resize it and move it where I want to. So it's just like a picture. If you guys ever work with pictures, oops, let me undo, I messed something up there. There, I can just click, hold, and drag. Oops, see, this is where the undo comes in. I keep grabbing the wrong handle. I'm going to come over here and click undo. And there. I'm just making it a little bit smaller. Okay, so again, this is just like a picture. It's like a text box. If you click outside of it, it's not selected. If you click inside of it, you'll see all these little tiny handles. And those are edit handles that you can either drag or you can resize, however you want this chart to look. Okay, and again, this is just kind of nice because then when you show this, and the chart doesn't have to be on the same sheet. You could put it on a different sheet if you wanted to, but it's just nice to see the colored, the visual right next to the actual data. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to hit delete. And let me do this again. I just click somewhere inside the data. Well, actually, I'm going to select different data here. I'm going to select, let me show you a pie chart. So I want to see just a pie chart of January dogs. I get, maybe I'm presenting and I get a lot of questions on January. How do you kick off the year? So I'm going to go ahead and highlight those those cells. I'm going to click on insert. And again, I'm going to go again, even though I know it's probably going to be this one right there. I'm going to click on recommended charts. And I like this one right there, the pie chart. I click on OK. And again, it makes it too big. I'm going to resize it. See, there's January. It's just really kind of neat to see it visually. And people, no matter who your audience is, they're going to be able to now not only understand the data, but able to see it in more of a visual format. And I can move that around, do whatever I want to with it. I'm just going to go ahead and delete. Okay, any questions? I'm going to come back to you guys about charts. I mean, you can do a lot of things with charts. You can do pivot tables, which is kind of more of a chart format. You can do all these kind of different charts, the line charts, the pie charts. But again, for Excel, it's a visual representation of the data, which is really helpful for a lot of us. I'm more visual and I like to see it in the pretty colors. Okay, let me just kind of finalize everything. Again, with Excel, you can do just about anything. So don't repeat steps. Don't waste time doing it that way. Sometimes you might have to put a feature along with a formula to get what you want. But that's what I'm here for, is to help you with anything like that that you need or want with your spreadsheet. If you inherit a spreadsheet, probably half the time it's not set up right. And so that's another time I'd love for you to contact me. I can take a look and I can quickly get it set up right. Maybe even if it's swapped. Maybe again, I want dogs, cats, and birds, you know, up here is my column headings, and then I want the months over here, I can actually take that data and swap it easily. So don't waste time recreating any of the information. There's a shortcut in here for just about everything. So I've gone through filtering formulas, text formulas, pie charts, all kinds of different charts and stuff. But if you guys have any questions, again, please don't hesitate to let me know and to reach out to me. My email again is ccase@walton.uark.edu. And also make sure, let me stop sharing here. Make sure you guys visit us at sbtdc.uark.edu. And we're also on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. We've got a lot of great experts that can help you with just about anything you need. Market analysis, Excel, one of my favorites, but anything that you guys need help with, don't hesitate to reach out. And like I said, with me, just email me. I can help you with your spreadsheet. We can hop on a phone call. But let's get it set up right from the beginning and get it set up as automatic as possible. So when you do make changes, it just will automatically flow very seamlessly throughout the rest of your spreadsheet. But again, my email is ccase@walton.uark.edu. And please, again, don't hesitate to call me or reach out to me. Now, we did not talk about macros, but that is something, again, I would love to hop on a call for. Macros are so different for everybody, but what a macro is if you're repeating the same steps over and over again, you can save it as a macro. And that can be a keyboard shortcut, that can be a button. And so again, please reach out to me and we'll create a custom macro for you too. But again, it just kind of condenses and records a bunch of steps down to one button or one keystroke. So I love macros. I don't use them a whole lot, but they're really good. Pivot tables too, if you want to reach out to me about a pivot table, what that does is, again, that takes all of your data and not only puts it kind of in a visual format for you, but it allows you to filter and do a lot of crazy good formulas in there too. So please don't hesitate to do that. But again, you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. As you can tell, I love talking about Excel. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I love helping you with it. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And I hope you guys all have a great day. Bye-bye.